Welcome to Fight for Life, a pro-life radio show discussing the ministry of First Choice Pregnancy Services here in Las Vegas. I'm Deborah, board member and executive director of First Choice Pregnancy Services.
And I'm Jessica, logistics specialist at First Choice Pregnancy Services.
We are ambassadors for the unborn. Welcome to the show.
Good afternoon, friends. Thanks for joining us today. This is Deb and Jess and Tony. We are ambassadors on behalf of the babies, here to share insights and real-life stories in the fight for the unborn. Today we have Tony with us. It's always good to have some of those who stand out on the street and are literally the last voice for that baby as they walk into the abortion clinic. So we're excited to have him here. His wife is actually my assistant in the office, so he gets both sides of the life. But Jess,
and he volunteers with us too.
Yeah. Jess is going to give you the weekly stats, and then Tony has an awesome story to share with you guys today, and we're going to talk about some other stuff.
Welcome to Fight for Life Radio, everyone. From January 18th to January 24th of 2024, First Choice has provided 94 free pregnancy tests and 61 free ultrasounds to the women of Las Vegas. If you'd like to join this conversation, you can call into the radio station at 702-650-5588, or if you're joining us live on social media, please interact with us. We will be talking to you at the very end. You can find us on Facebook and YouTube at FCPS Friends, Instagram and Twitter at FCPS_Friends. If you'd like to learn more about this wonderful, amazing, unique ministry, you can go to fcpsfriends.org and learn more, or even give us a donation there. We would be happy to accept it.
Always. Jess told me today, she's like, you should bring that with you, because one of the favorite things that we have been doing at First Choice in the last 3 months, I think it's been about 3 months, is, for those of you that are watching online, we have been giving out these heartbeats to our patients that are seeking abortion. And it has been a real game changer in giving us just another tool to advocate on behalf of those babies. Today, here's a heartbeat. Listen to these little heartbeats. See, for those of you who are watching, it blinks.
It's a little electronic heart. It's a red electronic heart that we can record the heartbeat of a woman's baby that's in our ultrasound room having an exam, and we give these to the women that are abortion bound. It helps them to have one more tangible tool at our disposal, but in their hands. They actively participate to record their baby's heartbeat on this device, so that they can take that heartbeat home with them and have that memory of their baby's heart beating.
Yeah, and they're all so uniquely different because God has created each one at a different pace. I have one in my purse right now, and I walked out of First Choice, and my purse starts beating like a heartbeat. And it's this baby's heartbeat right here, I think, is about 12 weeks. The one in my purse is about 6 weeks, so it's not as loud and strong as this one. But these are awesome little heartbeats. I mean, when you take this heartbeat away with you and you're wanting to abort that baby, what are you then going to do with the heartbeat? Like, are you going to throw it away like your baby? Or are you going to sit there and have it kept as a remembrance of what you ended? So if you want to sponsor some heartbeats, call First Choice.
Yes.
We want to give a shout out to Liberty Baptist Church. This month they are doing Human Awareness. And last Sunday, that's my home church for all of you who don't know. And Pastor Neil is one of the pastors there, and he actually asked me if I would want to come set up for First Choice last Sunday for Sanctity of Life Sunday. That was the 40th anniversary since President Ronald Reagan declared that particular Sunday a Sanctity of Life Sunday. And so I stood out at all the services with a booth for First Choice with our little Touch of Life babies. And while I was standing there, one of our old patients walked in the door with her family. And I was like, hey. And then she came walking over, and her little kids were looking at the babies on the table. And it was just awesome to see that the work at First Choice that we do extends beyond our walls. That this gal, whose little boy is now about 4 years old, she moved back to Las Vegas. She used to visit Liberty years ago. But she recently moved back to Las Vegas, and she showed back up at Liberty for church.
And it happened to be Sanctity of
And
Life
it
Sunday.
happened to be Sanctity of Life Sunday. So if you're following us on our social media, there's a picture of her with her little boy, Zuri, there at church on Sunday. And then those Touch of Life babies, so many. When we go and we set up events like this at churches or different places that have children, the children are always fascinated with those Touch of Life babies. The little girls always want to come touch them and hold them. And it's just a great opportunity to teach young kids about the sanctity of life. And they're like so surprised. I was this little? I said, yeah, you started out this little. So it was just a great opportunity to share what we're doing, to be a light for the babies here in the valley. And just want to thank Liberty for doing that.
I have an amazing story using the Touch of Life babies with one of our patients that I'll share a little bit later. But right now, I want to welcome Tony for coming back on. As Deb explained a little bit earlier, he is a street witnesser. I like to call him a street advocate because they go out there and they are literally on the front lines of this war on life, and they take it all the way up to the gate where they just cannot pass any further than that without trespassing and getting the law involved. And they're fighting all the way up until the parents can't hear them anymore. Tony had a wonderful story that he shared with me last week that I invited him to come onto the radio with us because it was such a touching story. So, Tony, I'm going to let you just take it away.
Before Tony takes it away, though, I want to thank Tony for standing out there. You know, him and Carl particularly stand out there several days a week. And if you've
Celeste and Grace, there's several.
Yeah, they come out there a day a week, but Tony and Carl are the ones that show up all the time. There's other people. It takes a collective community, but they spend a lot of time out there on the street. And it is a very hard and challenging thing to do out there. Tony can tell you guys about it because oftentimes what he's about ready to share with you doesn't happen often. And it takes a lot of perseverance and running on God fuel to sustain you guys out there on that street.
But when it does happen, it's good to share those stories because it's an encouragement, not just for everyone listening, but to have you relive it. I'm sure it's an encouragement even for you as you shared.
It reminds you why you stand and fight, right?
It does.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for having me. And I just have to say that, being part of First Choice is just a blessing. It's amazing, all the work that the ladies do there and the men that volunteer. And it's just amazing work. So I want to thank you for having me here today also. I stand out in front of First Choice many hours each week and get to see what's going on and those who go in and out. And God placed First Choice at a strategic area, and it makes a difference. It's making a huge difference in people's lives, and so I'm blessed to be able to be strong enough physically and spiritually to be out there in front of First Choice and in front of that abortion clinic.
Spiritually, right there is the key to that.
It's a battle. It's a spiritual battle.
It
We do
is.
not wrestle against flesh and blood. It's a spiritual battle out there. And people are just blinded. They're buying into the lie of abortion, and we were just talking earlier. It's a lot of times I'm out there and Carl and several other people and we feel like, are we really making a difference? And then something will happen, like what just happened. A divine appointment will come into our lives, and remind us while we're there. So,
Amen.
yeah, last week I was out there on Tuesday morning, and it's always interesting to watch the people that God are leading, because God leads them to the wrong door, which is the right door, and to the wrong parking place, and to where it's the right parking place. And so they actually parked right in front of me outside the gate to the abortion clinic, and gave me a few extra moments to greet them and to give them some encouragement and direction to where they were going. And I did ask them. I've been led by the Lord to carry my sign that says Jesus is the way, because God's really encouraging me to share God's love and to share hope.
That's right.
And Jesus is the way. And so no matter what I say, I want to plant that seed, and God keeps reminding me that. So no matter what someone's doing, God, Jesus is the way, and God will make a way. So I was standing there with my sign that said Jesus is the way, and they got out of their car, and I looked right at both of them, and I said, have you heard the good news of Jesus? And the young man said, yeah, I've heard about Jesus. And so I went through my encouragement, and they kept walking towards the abortion clinic, and I usually like to at least let them know. I begged them. I said, please don't support this abortion clinic. This abortion clinic kills dozens of babies here every day. Don't be part of the killing of these innocent babies. And if you need that strength and that love in your heart, just ask Jesus. Say, Jesus, give me that love in my heart to love myself and to love these children. And that's about as much as I get in, and then click, they're inside the door. And I walked around a little bit, and God was really leading me that day, because I walked back and forth, and I was back at the gate, and the young gentleman walked out by himself, and I spoke to him again, and he said, yeah, I know Jesus. And I said, well, what are you doing here today? And he said, my wife wants to have an abortion, and I can't stop her. And so we had a little discussion. He kept saying, oh, it's her choice. It's her choice. And I told him, I said, yes, we are free to make our own choices, but it's up to us to encourage people to make the right choice. Mm-hmm. And I asked him if he went to church, and he said he did. And so he said he was plugged in with a local church. And I spoke with him a little bit more, and I told him, I said, hey, if you love your wife and you love your children, he also told me that they have 2 children already. One's 9, one's 11. His wife just had a baby that's 4 months old. Now she's pregnant again. She's scared. She's worried. She doesn't know what to do, and she wants to have an abortion. And I told him, I said, yeah, it's up to you to encourage her to have that baby. I said, you need to get back in there and save that baby. And so he took those words of encouragement. He went back in to the abortion clinic. He was probably in there another 45 minutes. And again, I just happened to be at the gate when they both walked out, and they both seemed to have a little bit more better attitude, and they were smiling a little bit, and the woman said, don't worry, I'm going to keep my baby. And so I just said, thank you, Jesus. And I was
Praise
able,
God. That's awesome.
It was awesome.
That is
And
awesome.
So I was able to speak to them a little bit more. And I said, hey, before you go, can I give you something? And they said, yes. And so I had already had a Bible that someone had given me to bless someone with. He said, can you bless someone with this Bible? I said, when the right moment comes, I will bless someone with this Bible. And I had some first choice pamphlets and some other information on adoption and information on what abortion is. And I had a lot of literature I wanted to give them, so I grabbed that real fast and went back and was able to give them that. And another street witnesser that's down there a lot, Grace, was able to come with me. And we were able to give them some information. Grace told them about First Choice. I told them a little bit more about abortion and the options that they had, and just really encouraged them to let them know that that baby was a blessing from God, and that I said, I know this is going to be difficult, but God will make a way. God will provide. You know, with men it is impossible, but with God all things are possible. And that's what God really laid on my heart this month. I was able to share that with them.
That's so
And,
awesome.
It was awesome.
That's so awesome. God sends you the encouragement right when you need it, right?
It was awesome. And my wife told me that because just the night before I told my wife, I said, am I really making a difference out there? I'm like, I don't know. And when I told my wife the story, she said, and see, we're just asking if you make a difference out there. And so yeah, I mean, God changes our heart. God leads our footsteps. And yeah, so we were able to pray for that young family. You know, I really encouraged them to continue to going to church. I gave him the Bible, and I encouraged him to read that Bible with his family. And yeah,
Wow.
so they were really encouraged. They said they were going to keep the baby. And so yeah. So
That's an awesome
blessing,
story,
what a
Tony.
miracle. It is a blessing.
Yeah, I was actually just standing down there on a Saturday. I think it was about 2 weeks ago. And, you know, having grown up on the sidewalk doing that with my dad all the time, like, I understand what it's like to stand out there. And I remember, like, my dad standing out there and just hearing him, like, saying he'd go down there when he didn't have any work, kind of like you guys do. And he'd come back from different days and just didn't see anything. And you just go long streaks of time where you just didn't know anything. And then you have those times where those people stop, that God just moves in their heart to let you know that you're out here making a difference, keep you on the right course. But I was standing down there like 2 weeks ago, and I was telling Jess it was so sad. Like, when I come down there on Saturdays and I see Redeemer down there, I like to go down and say hi to him because I don't see him very often. And go stand down there just a little bit because I do think it's an important place, even for those of us within the walls, to stand out there. It gives you a good insight as to what you guys are seeing every day and the reality that we already know walking through our doors. But while I was standing down there, Sergio was sitting there pleading with a couple that was walking in, and Lydia was standing next to him. And there was just the two of them down there, and that parking lot down there was full. There was probably minimum 15 to 20 gals in there having abortions. And that was on top of Lyfts and Ubers dropping people off. And so as I sat there, just kind of taking in the moment and watching it while I stood down there, I was down there for, I don't know, maybe 15 minutes. It's just the reality of it when you stand there and you think the majority of people here in Las Vegas have no idea that in this one spot right here, there's a massacre taking place this morning. And there's very few people that stand out there and do anything about it. And so it was just, it just had a big impact standing on me, watching the two of them by themselves standing there pleading for the lives of these children. And then you had a lady that got out for her abortion. And the car that she got out of was parked off by the wall by that carport. And they had really loud, crazy music playing. And she would come out and she'd smoke, and just the casualness of what she was doing, and just kind of like she wanted them to see that she heard them and she saw them, and like kind of when you think about like the journey even through like Pilgrim's Progress actually, and the carnality and the worldliness and everything going around, just in that one spot, there was 15 to 20 babies in a 3-4 hour period of time that were having their lives snuffed out.
Yeah, it's heartbreaking.
And it's hard to just really grasp the reality of that. Like, you can't wrap your mind around that kind of stuff. You know, I had a lady this past week. She was in her early 30s, And I got the opportunity to advocate for her baby that was inside her womb, which she thought was about 19 weeks, according to her period. So I brought in the Touch of Life babies, the huge ones, because she was pretty far along. And she had already had an abortion recently that was for a 16-week baby. But when we got into the room, she started sharing about how it took her a long time to escape this abusive relationship that she had in her marriage. She already has multiple kids, and now she's doing the single mom thing. And she was really scared to find out about how her ex-husband was going to react to her being pregnant from another man. And she just didn't want to risk it. She always wanted a little girl, and she said that she aborted the last baby that was a little girl. And so I asked her that time, well, what are you hoping for this time? She goes, well, I haven't really thought about it, but I guess I would want a girl if I got the choice. So I took her through, and she shared that she wanted abortion information. So I said, I see that you have on here that you want abortion information, so I'm going to teach you about abortion. And I went through all the different abortion options, and she shared with me her past abortion experience. And
with that little girl,
with
right?
that little 16-week baby girl. And she said that she was awake for the whole procedure, that she was slightly sedated, but she was awake for the whole thing, and she remembers everything. She saw the baby going into the glass jar as it was being suctioned out. And she said afterward that they took her to a recovery area and lined her up the hall with all the other women that had just had an abortion and were recovering. And she was still kind of feeling the effects of the sedation, but how she was brought the glass jar with her baby in it, and they told her, she's like, why are you bringing me this? Why are you showing me this? They said, well, you asked to see the baby. And she said she looked in there and she could see the baby's foot. So as I was sharing this education on abortion with her, and I opened up our graphic brochure, she pointed to one of the procedures where it has the baby's face laying on this metal tray right next to the baby's hand. And she says, that's what it looked like right there. And immediately she thought of her baby that was aborted. She was sharing all this with me. I said, well, how did all that make you feel? And she goes, obviously that she had hated it. She doesn't want to do it again, but yet here we are, and you're about to make the same decision for a baby that's even older than that one. Mm-hmm. And she, by the time we were said and done, she held the Touch of Life babies, the one that was closest to how far along she was at the time, or at least she thought. When we got her back to ultrasound, though, she ended up being over 25 weeks pregnant.
Wow.
And she chose life, right?
She ended up choosing life for that.
Oh,
and
God.
so we just praise the Lord for that. But those Touch of Life babies are such a powerful tool.
They are.
Yes.
And if you don't follow our social media, we had some awesome stories we've shared, and we have to share. They actually came in our newsletter last Sunday. Our Florida abortion walk-in that was 19 weeks, and the following day a 20-week abortion walk-in. They both gave birth to their babies this month, a little boy and a little girl. We had a little baby boom of photos last week that were just some incredible little injections into our lives, encourage and motivate us on. Before we leave, we want you guys to all know that we always need volunteers. If you've ever thought about volunteering, I ended up in the counseling room yesterday. I said, okay, I'll help you guys. I'll take this one. It looks easy.
It's always me throwing you in the pot.
And it was an abortion-minded gal that was my daughter's age. So it was an interesting time to sit there and minister to that young girl and her boyfriend, who happened to be my son's name. So contact us. Mark your calendars for the March for Life. It is March the 16th. We would love to have more participation. We are doing it differently this year with peer-to-peer online.
We're making it more
So,
competitive.
Yes, sign up on our website. It'll be coming up, sign-ups here in the next week, and create a team. That's it. Thanks for joining us today, Tony.
Thank you.
Thank you all for listening and lifting us up in your prayers. God bless you all.
Thanks for joining your ambassadors for the unborn on the Fight for Life radio, today and every Thursday on KKVV 1060 AM, the best news radio, the gospel airship.
If you'd like to support the cause of saving unborn babies, or if you have a question you'd like us to answer on the air, go to fcpsfriends.org or call us at 702-294-CARE. Again, that number is 702-294-2273.
On behalf of his little ones, thank you and God bless.